Hello and welcome to For the Glory, a Wattle Nest production series showcasing some of Australia's finest elite athletes to share their stories, inspire our nation and embrace the power of sport. My name is Rachel Condos Fields and I'm incredibly excited to introduce you to our series today, and we will be joined by some of Australia's most influential and successful athletes who will share with you some of their strategies to empowerment, celebration and connectivity. Joining me today, as always, is our brilliant, vibrant co-host and Australian track and field athlete, Nana Owusu. Welcome back, Nana.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to hear more stories about some inspirational athletes.
You and me both. And today we are not going to disappoint because we have a world record holder amongst us today. Welcome to former Ironwoman and endurance athlete, Bonnie.
Thank you so much, and it's nice to be back on land after a long time at sea.
Are you still wobbling?
I definitely was for the first month. I had to really adapt and had to be careful crossing the road with cars because life is quite slow out at sea. There's not much happening, so it's been an interesting process.
Oh, good on you, but you've got real coffee at your fingertips again.
Absolutely, they're perks of civilization.
A pillow and a bed.
Yeah, definitely.
Bonnie, a lot of us struggle being good at one sport. How did you know you were good at three?
Oh, well, that's very kind. I basically started in surf lifesaving from a young age. So I grew up in Coffs Harbour in New South Wales, and my parents wanted my sisters and I to keep safe. So living at the beach, we went down to surf club every Sunday, and through nippers you get taught how to swim, how to paddle a board, and later how to paddle a ski.
Yeah.
So later on I was lucky enough to make the professional Ironwoman series, which was a huge goal of mine. I made it at 17, and you have to combine all of those three disciplines as well as a run leg in between. So it was a natural progression from nippers.
Well, Rachel just noted that you are a world record holder. What do you do to prepare yourself when you want to attempt one?
That's a great question. And obviously depending on the world record, for me, I knew I had to paddle around 100k a day, which is around that 12 to 14 hours a day, depending on the conditions. Mm-hmm. You can't train to paddle 100k a day. Basically, I went in, the furthest I'd paddled was 20 kilometres. Mm-hmm. I knew the first 2 months would be about conditioning and adapting. For the first 2 months, I was on the back of the boat in agony. The crew was desperately trying to massage me and get the knots out of my muscles. But after 2 months, I really felt conditioned. And I deliberately put 15 kilos on leading in because I knew I wouldn't be able to meet the 10,000 calories or so required daily.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You put your body through a lot, but it has paid off.
So for people following at home and don't know Bonnie's story, Bonnie spent, 260 days at sea paddling around Australia and has become the first woman to do so and broke some world records along the way.
Yeah, that's it. So a touch over 8 months. So the previous world record was 10 and a half months. So I definitely wanted to get back before that. I knew I was never going to do it again. And I was the first person to go clockwise. So everyone had done it anti-clockwise. I was the fifth in total. And I took a risk. I got advice from meteorologists to do that and follow the currents of the Australian coastline. So yeah, I was stoked to touch back down in a bit over 8 months. But wow, there was some ups and downs, and I tell you, it mentally, even more than physically, tested me in every way possible.
It was a mental struggle for me just to pull myself out of bed this morning in Melbourne because it's bloody freezing and the weather is nothing like Brisbane. And I was thinking about you as I pulled myself out when you had 260 days, getting up in 10-degree water, finding the strength and the resilience to go on. I can imagine you would have had some pretty horrendous swells at some point in time. We've always been taught never to smile at a crocodile, but I'm sure you came across a few of those as well.
Definitely, and it was a really interesting process leading in. I basically, I studied a lot of ultra-endurance athletes, and you learn about nutrition, but not many people have paddled in crocodile and shark-infested waters. So how I went about it, I would look at photos and videos of those creatures, and I tried to normalise the fact that they were in the water with me. So if I saw one, I didn't want to freak out. So I would study them and watch them, and each day I would tell myself I was going to see one. And the crew were seeing them all around me, and they sit under the water. So there were a lot of times where they could see them and I couldn't, which is quite terrifying.
So did your strategy work? Were you fearless or did you still crap yourself when you saw them?
I think it worked. As I said, it's very left field. But I mean, I did a lot of night paddling. That was probably the scariest. I was paddling till sometimes midnight and you hear every splash, and especially when there's no moon, it's very, very freaky.
Oh, and where do you find, there would have been days where you probably thought, why the hell am I doing this and is it worth it? And oh my goodness, I'm not even halfway. Yeah. Where do you find that mental strength and toughness to just keep going and that resilience?
Yeah, absolutely. This project started for the selfish reasons of attempting a world record, and it became about so much more than that. So I was raising money for Gotcha for Life. They're a mental fitness charity here in Australia, and their aim is for zero suicides. So I had this almost community of people following that were contacting me on social media, telling me about their mental fitness struggles, people who had lost someone close to them. And that was all I needed to get in and take that first stroke. And there were days I didn't think I was even going to be able to make 10 kilometres, let alone 150 on some days. And I would have their sort of voice or their message in my head. And yeah, we were able to make that impact. And it's an area I'm really passionate in and want to keep, continuing in my education, that area, and in educating others.
So where are you sleeping through this process? Do you just like pull yourself out of a little dinghy and jump back on the surf ski? How does that work?
Absolutely. So I had a support catamaran for most of the way. So I would be paddling out to the side of the catamaran and I would have someone on Bonnie watch watching me the whole time. But when it was raining and dark, it was a really tough job for my crew. They were under a lot of stress the whole time as well. Most of the time the boat would anchor out there either to a reef or behind a headland. But in certain sections it's too deep to anchor. So they would put the sails up and attempt to steady the boat and the boat would just be rocking, which for seasickness is absolutely horrific. I got so seasick, and when we crossed the Great Australian Bight, I lost 8 kilos in 2 weeks, which was, I just could
lucky you
not...
bulked up before.
Absolutely, that's exactly right. So that 15 kilos I'd put on prior, I lost up to about halfway around, I'd lost the 15 kilo. As a dietitian, I felt lucky I was in that position to know a little bit about, hopefully a lot about...
A lot more than us anyway.
The importance of protein. And, out there I was having to rely on supplements. I had the Body Science supplements to help me, amino acids as well. But when I got seasick, it was just what I could hold down. And sometimes, it sounds ridiculous, ice cream and Milo was all that could stay down when I was really seasick. So I was paddling 100 kilometres
My kind of diet.
off of ice cream and Milo, which sounds amazing. But you'd really feel yourself start to struggle. So by the time I crossed the Great Australian Bight, we were 500k out to sea, 5 to 6 metre swells. I had to get hospitalised, go straight to hospital and get the IV fluids in. So I had all of these grand plans, and then out there you're under a lot of, stress on the body. And out at sea, it was whatever I could hold down. And so when you got to land, you had to really focus on your veggies and the things you hadn't been able to hold down. Yeah.
Preparing for the unexpected, it sounds like.
Absolutely. And at the start, coming from a professional Ironwoman background, I'm quite a perfectionist, as you probably know yourself in athletics. And I had to sort of put a lot of that to the side and just accept that the ocean's going to do whatever it wants. My stomach's going to do whatever it wants, and it's just getting through each day, and it might not look perfect.
So when you've gone and done that and you've come back and you're on the highest of highs and feeling like, wow, I've conquered the world, what do you do next?
Absolutely. And I think that's, sometimes a problem as an ambitious person. I'm always looking for the next thing. But it's an amazing trait because it does keep you focused on track. So for now, it's... focusing on my off-water projects. So making a documentary and writing a book.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I've got so much raw footage from the paddle. I took a crew, I had 2 videographers, and I'm so glad I did that, both for the point of sharing the story along the way. And now, we've got so much. It's just choosing the best parts for a documentary. And I meet people and they say, I saw you throwing up into the bucket. There's a lot of raw moments.
And, real glamorous moments.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And if you want to see them, viewers at home, I encourage you to follow Bonnie Hancock's story on Instagram because there's some pretty incredible footage out there. So get onto it. Nana, we're running out of time, but we can't finish the session without your favourite game. So over to you. You might need to explain the rules.
2 Truths and a Lie is my favourite game. So Bonnie, do you have any two truths and a lie you can give us and the audience?
Do you know, I've played this game before and we played it as 2 lies and a truth. So I'm sorry to have to throw a spanner in the works.
That's okay, that's okay. Preparing for the unexpected.
Awesome, but I've got one for you. So it is based on the paddle and it's to do with marine creatures. So these are my 2 lies and a truth. I ran over a crocodile.
Ooh.
I ran over a shark.
Okay.
Or I ran over a whale. So
And when you say ran, you paddled over them?
paddled over it, as in ran over with the ski. So one of those is true.
I don't know what would be more petrifying, to be honest.
I want to say the crocodile is true because I just feel like a whale, you'd feel it. A little too big.
Absolutely. So I actually ran over a shark and it was up in the Northern Territory and it was at night time and one of my crew was on the boat and it was a big shark and I'm paddling along and it just hit my ski and my crew saw it under and thankfully it didn't follow me from there. But it just, in those moments, you might be in the middle of listening to some music and all of a sudden you're running over a shark at night in the middle of the ocean. It brings you straight back to that moment.
Yeah.
So
Unbelievable.
that was the truth.
Did you capsize?
I didn't, fortunately, but I did a lot of falling out. And when the crew did see the sharks and crocs, I said to them, do not tell me at the time because the worst thing you can do is fall out.
And panic. Yeah.
Exactly. So I managed to stay in the ski, fortunately.
Thank God.
Bonnie, thank you. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to let you know that our friends at Aldera have really wanted to promote healthy hearing amongst our athletes, and as a token of their appreciation and admiration for your story, they're gifting you with some headphones so that you can find your personalised sound.
This is incredible. I'm doing a lot of travelling at the moment, so on planes this is amazing, and I'm doing some walking to get back into life on land. So this will be incredible. Thank you so much.
They are damn good headphones. So
Awesome.
Thank you so very much for joining us on the show today, and we wish you the best of luck for your documentary and your books and the next chapter of your journey. And Nana, thank you again for joining us in the studio and being an amazing, vibrant co-host.
Thank you for having me.
So that concludes this session of the Wattleness Athlete Empowerment for the Glory series. Be sure to tune in next time as we discuss and share even more stories from the professional athlete world. Until next time, guys, thank you.